I have a statement here that we're asked to read so that we don't get ourselves in trouble, but this is not a council meeting, and we're not going to say the pledge, although I believe in saying the pledge. We're not going to take roll or have roll call of the council. We're not going to ask for any motions or anything tonight like that, no voting. We won't be going into executive session of any kind. There isn't any open meetings law, and this is not considered a council meeting. More than anything, and those of you who know me, and of course obviously those who've had the pleasure of reading some of my more than long newspaper articles, I hope not to do that. My goal tonight is to give you a little bit of information about what I know, factual things that I want to present. Larry and I have gathered some data and want to share that with you. And more than anything, I haven't been here my whole life, but most of my life, and Larry just informed me that he's been here his whole life, and he's never recalled the time where we just said, here, tell us what you would like. We don't have all the answers, I promise you don't. I'm probably not going to be able to answer a lot of questions. I won't be able to answer a lot of questions, but I really want you to be heard. You know, for whatever that's worth, for whatever your questions or concerns are, I really want you to be heard, to feel that you're an important part of this. I do realize that being intelligent is nice, being all great, that's wonderful, fantastic, but the smartest people are smart enough to surround themselves with really intelligent people, like the people in this room, and then listen to them, and that's where you can get the most work done by using the expertise of those people. So with that, I do have a couple things that I'd like to share with you. Is there anything else? Okay. So we had a few documents at our meeting, and I'd like to show you those documents that we have. And I guess I'm just going to present some information. I don't know, I guess I'd be remiss, and I don't want to embarrass anybody or whatever, but even though this is small town America, there are people in the room that don't know who each other are, who your neighbors are, unfortunately. So, I mean, if you just want to introduce yourself in just like 2 words or 3 words about who you are, or what do you do, or what, you know, maybe even why you're here, it'd be fantastic. That way you can get to go know each other. If nothing else, you walk away from here saying, well, heck, she's my neighbor. I don't know her. I don't want to put anybody in the spot. If you don't want to do it, you can do, like in my high school class, you can always just pass, and then I'll go right past you. But if you wanted to share a little bit, that would be fantastic. So we can build some kind of relationship. Like I said, I'm surrounded by super intelligent, super hardworking people, and that relationship component is really critical to me. So you can start wherever you want to. Front row is always a good place to start. You just say who you are and a little bit about yourself. That'd be fantastic.
Well, sure. So I'm Kaylee Schmidt, and I actually came as part of the Crofton Community Club because I thought this was a regular meeting. So I don't know if now's a good time, but the Crofton Community Club would like to pay for and hire Hardington Tree to replace some of the trees, or 3 trees this year in South Park that were taken down. And so when is the regular meeting so that I went through the tree board.
Tomorrow night.
Okay, tomorrow.
I can say that, right? That's
Yeah.
it's
I have went over it with the tree board, so I just wanted to make sure the city council and talk to them about it. So tomorrow night at
6:30.
6:30.
And I don't know, the agenda thing is always like, ooh, I don't know if you're officially on.
I called twice about being on it, but nobody, I didn't know this one got changed.
All right, so, well, anyway, thank you very much.
Yep.
I'm Larry Pipes, I'm the councilman here in Crofton for the last 4 years, so that's why I'm here, concerned about this town. Thank you.
I'm Don Mink. I've lived in Crofton 40-some years. I am on the council right now as kind of a temporary fill-in, but really want this town to succeed in all phases.
I'm Todd Wallen. My wife is Nicole. My son is Josh. He works at the grocery store. We bought the Poppy House. I don't know if it's going to continue to be called that. I hope not, but it's the Wallen House now. We moved here about 8 months ago from between Minneapolis and Duluth area, a town called Forest Lake, and we love this town. We're happy we moved here. So, yeah.
Mary Ann Farland. Did you move in across the street from me?
I don't know.
He said the poppy.
Yeah,
Where
we
Jay and
walk
Deanna
them.
live.
He lives in the house.
Where Jay and Deanna live.
Jane.
On the west side of town.
The west side.
okay.
On the west side.
That's a different property house. Okay. Oh, it's retired postmaster.
I'm with Ann Heinrich, and I'm just here to get informed.
I'm Jerry Shoemaker. I've lived here since I married Joe, about 60-some years ago, and now I live in town. And I just came here because I wanted to see how our city is doing.
I'm Vicki Shoemaker, I've lived here 73 years and I want it back the way it used to be.
Mary Jean Steffen, and we've been here over 60 years, and, so I like the town, and I'd like to see it be good and prosperous.
Jerry Stephanie, been here 60-some years, same thing as what she said.
I'm Beth Rensselaer. I moved here about a year and a half ago. My cousin lives here with her husband and family. And I'm here to see how things go tonight and just find things out.
I'm Vita Chase, and we've been in the area about 20 years, so we're newcomers. My interest tonight is to listen, but I would also have a few things I'd like to share. I work in home health now, but worked for years in the school setting as an aide.
I'm Joe Jansen. I grew up here. I lived here all my life except for 15 years. Former from college, I was teaching. And back here, ran an insurance agency for 32 years. And I guess there's so many questions. There's so many questions that have never been answered. And my biggest concern is how much money does the city have and where the hell is it?
I'm Brenda Sage, I work at the school, I've been here for 40 years. My husband was a lifelong resident, and I just kind of want to be informed without listening to everybody else.
I'm Diane Allen. I've lived here 50 years. Friends that I answer on my opinion and learn what I can from you.
I'm Marlene Hines, I've been here 56 years, used to be Bob's next door neighbor, and I'm a concerned citizen.
I'm Louise Harlan, and I've been here long enough to learn a few names, enjoy company of a previous resident, and to be a part of something bigger than myself, which is the Cottonwood Villa there. And being there, I've developed a passion for the residents as well as the property, and I see that the affairs of the city directly affect that property. So it is in my best interest as the director to try and learn as much as I can of what's going on so that I would know better how to help the residents that are there. And I'm in the Pizza Hut house. And I'll be happy when they stop saying call it that.
That's the one guy sitting back there like that.
Either that or McDonald's house, huh?
Yeah, oh my goodness.
They're going-
I'm Dan, her husband, retired, and I'm on the Economic Development Committee, new to town, I've been here 3 years, and just, you can't hide like a big city when you live in a small town. You get the government you get is the government you vote for. If you're not involved, you have no say. So at least here we have a voice, in this forum. That's it.
Pat?
Patrick Holstein, head maintenance, been here 3 years. 3 years now.
I guess 3 years is the number, that's a good number. So we're also, Krista Christensen, Jay Christensen. Yeah, we're just here to kind of hear you out and maybe have some other thoughts and just see, you know, your opinions, see what's going on.
I'm Nikki Spronkle. I've been the pool manager for the Crofton City Pool for the last 3 years, so I'm really involved with that in the community and the kids who work in our community and look to stay in the community.
I'm Dale Pearson, branch manager at Crofton Lumber. I've been in town about a couple of months now and just looking to see what's going on here in town, gain some info.
Welcome. Glad to have you down.
David Benek, I've lived here for about 6 months and just concerned with what's going on in the community. I've lived in other small communities and I've never seen so much division in a small town.
I'm Carla Solo. My husband just retired from 20 years of working for the city, so I'm just here to see what's going on.
And I'm Tracy Osgood, and I've lived here most of my life, and finally starting to pay attention to what's going on around town instead of just coming home and doing my own thing and going to work and kind of a breakfast, you know, breakfast, breakfast community, what we call it. No, there's things that I need to pay attention to, see what's going on.
Then we brought John here to keep Larry under control, but anyway.
Yeah, my name is John Carter. I've been here since June. I'm one of those police officers in town. So, I'm here if you need us.
Jesse?
Jesse Rice. I moved here about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. My grandmother lived here 20 some odd years. My family has kind of been around this area for many years. I kind of like Dave, I don't understand what's going on. So I came down here trying to just hear it for myself.
And I would be that same officer. Margaret, nice to meet you guys.
All right. Well, thank you. And it goes without saying is that, you know, I think you all deserve a huge round of applause for making the effort to be here, being concerned, and then not only being concerned to take the time and effort to show up here. Because you obviously know I'm just Bob Evans. I'm just here trying to do the very best I can to help you out. That's what I'm here for, to give you information. Because I don't have all the answers. I won't claim to have all the answers. I just know that there's such a good nucleus of people in our town that we, in my opinion, shouldn't be in the state that we are. Right? And you know, you're all my friends. I've mowed half your lawns. But so whatever happens to be the case, it's grand. And so I'm going to share a little bit with you, and without going overboard here or whatever. And I apologize in advance. This is not a techno-savvy kind of place. But anyway, I did the best I could. But up there, if you look, in that little number I showed, what you cannot possibly read, 25 hours, right? Less than 25 hours before we were supposed to adopt a budget for our city for the next fiscal year, which actually started October 1. This is a documentation that we were provided with, that there was a government general government spending here $800,000. Public safety, which I can understand, that's law enforcement, of $112,000. And then a public works of $300,000. And so we came up with a total operating budget for of $1,212,000. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we were given to approve. That's what we got. I don't know, if you are gonna spend that kind of money, and this is what you have for documents of where that money is gonna be spent, that obviously was a concern for me. To approve this, when I have nothing else as others. Now, in the past, there were things here that were filled in, or whatever happened, in case of additional information we could go from. But, I mean, then it didn't take me 24 hours or 25 hours to figure out those, and I could add those in 25 hours. I came up with a number, but I didn't really have a basis to say, why is that number that, why is that number that, and why is that number that? So That's something I have. And then I had, Larry's kind of gonna have to fill some information in here while I get something else up on the computer, but, this is, well, that's me unfortunately over there. But this is your levy. This is another document that we were given the night of, right? The night of when we were supposed to approve this, and so, that was your current levy, last year, which was all filled in, all inclusive to be 50 cents on the dollar. The new levy proposed is 47 cents on the dollar, which you would seem to believe would be a cost savings to you. And it is because this was 50 cents, because there's additional things that go in here that were excluded from the levy, but now we're talking 47 cents. But as everybody obviously knows, our evaluations of our property went, they had people walking around and taking a look at stuff. So it's still gonna cost us more. The really concerning number for me and for us as council members is that one right there, is that our operating budget for our city, to run our city next year, is negative 18.82%. So imagine your household, if you would, and you were to lose 20% of the income, 20% of the income that you needed to run your household. Now, for some of you that are multimillionaires, that doesn't make a bit of difference. But to run our city and manage things the way we like to do them, losing 20% of our budget was very concerning. And so, we went through a lot of gathering information in that process, or tried to gather information, get some information about that. But the bottom line is, we were instructed or told that we would have more information about that number, and potentially that number would change Friday, by the end of the workday Friday last week.
That's right.
Yeah, and this is the number we still have and haven't received any further information. This was due to the Knox County last week, right, on Friday? Is that right? Yep. And so, that's where we're at, and so that's why I'm here. I'm just like, if it comes to be, that's $193,920 is the money that's gonna be generated from your levy on your taxes of 47.4725 on $100 of valuation. That's what's gonna be $193. This 18.82% leaves the city at about $280,000 loss in operating revenue last year and next year. And so I have, that's all I have. So I'm just, I guess, if and when or how this all comes to fruition, I don't know. But I'm here to say, ask you for direction, because, it's your town. Hopefully I can be a part of it. Hopefully you will continue to let me help serve as a leader in your town. I'm really proud to be here, honored to work with you, but I'm here to gather information. We're gonna have an official notes. There won't be like that. I am gonna take a few notes for myself, because I want to, I listen, but sometimes I forget stuff, I'll be 60 in a couple of days, if I make it that long. But anyway, so, I want to gather information about that. I don't have the answers to your questions about how that, because I didn't see, we don't know the documentation of that end of this. This is the stuff that was just, all I want you to know is that this was given to us, and this is what we were presented with. And so we actually, right, as a council, have approved that magic number right there, given the information that we would have more, that we would get the other sheet filled out, and that would be given to us with the rest of it filled out, and we've not yet seen that. Have we?
Show last year's paper, that's the same time.
I don't know if I can right away, but I will dig it back. But anyway, anybody that wants to enlighten or has questions or concerns, just go ahead and speak ahead. I'm gonna, and hopefully we're, when you're addressing things, we're talking to us as a community. like I said, I don't have all the answers. I will do whatever I can humanly possible to gather information, so hopefully I can help make informed decisions for the future. But hopefully everything you're sharing is something for the benefit of all, that we can grow from this meeting and this opportunity to share. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm finished. I'm gonna get something.
She's got a question.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
You're saying, from what I'm looking there, you're saying $212,000 is what's needed to run the city for a year? Am I correct with that? And then on the flip page, you're saying that it's operating at a negative something, and that the valuation, the taxes gleaned from the citizens is based on the valuation of their home, and that it's $193 increase per year, or?
Well,
I'm just trying to understand the numbers.
let me back up. If he could show up the other form of last year's budget on 21-22, that number down in the lower right is the same number you're looking at right now. That's this year. For next year, that's what she's got for us for next year.
For
So
the
that number
fiscal
hasn't
year.
changed or even went up with inflation. You understand?
It's exactly the same?
That $1,212,000 is the same as this, what we have this year. She's projecting it for 22-23, and that's this next year going on right now.
And so it's really confusing, because here's the actual, well, I don't understand the actual here. Actual to me is thing that's money that's spent, that's actually been dispersed and transferred for the 2021 fiscal year, that year, which is kind of weird how that works, but it was $945,000. But when we discussed this, it was like, well, this can still change. Well, I don't know if it's an actual figure how it's still changed. So I'm still confused about that. And then 21-22 is an actual estimated disbursement. And if you look, then of course, obviously that went up to $1,036,000. And then for next year, a proposed thing is $1,212,000. And so I can't gather. See this in my head right here? This is 19%, which is the 18.89%, kind of rounded up. Yes.
It's negative.
And so look at this. This obviously, if you look up and away, right? Yep. And this, I don't know where this number comes from, because that number right there was the operating budget of 2021, which was reduced, or is going to be reduced by 19%, which we do that math, that's where we come up with the loss of almost $300,000 in operating ability that will have money to run our city. And my lovely wife before I left there, she goes, yeah, well, this went up, and what'd you get accomplished with that? And I'm like, wife? Okay, it's there in black and white. I don't, that's what we had to work with. That's what we have to work with.
That's what we have to work with.
Yeah, Kristen so when I was at the budget meeting, I was trying to understand too. But she was saying something about the reason that discrepancy of that number was some carryover cash that the computer was not allowing her to put in to show the difference of the money, that it won't be a difference. It'll be when that cash money, when that gets applied. And then she also said something about not having one of the months in that number at the meeting.
When we got that 25 hours prior to the deadline, we had to vote on it. What you're saying was not on any sheet of paper that we.
Yeah, she just verbally said, that's why I'm wondering what.
We never even seen that there was a carryover or not. So how do we know that carryover is gonna happen? He approved the paperwork that you see in front of you.
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering what the discrepancy was, because she said there was a discrepancy, a number, that there was one month did not get into that number, and then some carryover money, cash, the computer wouldn't let her put it in, and that was that negative discrepancy number. I'm just going by what she said at the meeting. I'm trying to understand too.
And I really.
I went in on Thursday and looked over what was ready at that point in time, and looking at the different accounts that are set up, the money that has gone into the various accounts. There is reason to believe there's sufficient surplus for that to happen. All that documentation was available on Thursday. When I walked in, I don't know
was an informative meeting, 2 budget informative meetings for the city, open to everybody. You did not come. You chose not to avail yourself of any information about the budget, and now you're trying to cherry pick. A lot of the information that you see and gets put on this report is generated from the state, and it gets put in the documents the way it comes from the state. It does it itself. It is an actual computer program that happens. So without actually talking with the mayor and understanding the program that you are working with, how can you knowledgeably know what is going on? There's a lot of variables. One little tiny variable that we know is that all the new houses up by the lake and on the north part of our town all affects our income, our taxable, the income we get from our taxes. And so it may look like we don't have money, but we technically are very, very much better off than 4 years ago. We all know that there was a lot of deficit and monies disappeared before that. A lot of it went illegally, maybe not quite illegally, but inappropriately to salaries, which it was a decision made by a board at that time, which they didn't read the proposed change the 3 times they're supposed to read it, and they didn't understand that the monies that were for the pool, saved specifically from the first 1% tax that was saved for the pool, that went somewhere, probably to salaries, he actually knows. But there's a lot of information that you could have had if you would have gone to those 2 meetings, or if you would just walk in to the city office and ask for information. And I'll just say, we're all disappointed that we're at this point where we're so skeptical. Part of it comes from not asking. And the other part, I'm not saying that everybody's perfect, but we could work together if we try.
Who works in the city office now? Last I heard we had 2 clerks in there, treasurer and a clerk, and then I heard one was gone, so I'm kind of, who's there now?
There's a new clerk in, as of last week, because there was nobody.
Who's that?
I don't know her name. Donna, I believe is her name.
Her last name is Cook, right?
Yeah.
Donna.
She was approved by the board the day she walked. She came in and worked for a day before she knew.
So the other 2 had already quit, that were just sworn in?
So why are we losing so many clerks?
The one lady was sick with
Well,
There was 2 after that one.
I don't know, but from what I've observed in the office, there's a great deal to do. You need to be able to multitask and answer phones and handle the computer and answer questions of people walking in and be able to, pull files, kind of all sort of at the
It
same
has
time.
nothing to do with the mayor.
Yes, we all agree that she can be hard to work with.
Okay,
So I'm just wondering, do you work in the office? I'm not quite sure.
No, I just walked in last week and
Okay.
said.
I didn't know if
"May
you did, or I
have
wasn't
this
sure if you were there
information?"
helping or what. I was just wondering.
No, I've been there, I think 3 times, and this is what I've observed of the former lady who worked there, and Donna, I had just started a few days before I got there.
Gotcha.
And I noticed that she was working similarly to the lady who left to have the cancer treatment. But the other
Okay,
two-
yep, I wasn't sure if you worked there.
Joe's got a question?
Over the past few years, there's been quite a reference to Eddie and QuickBooks. First thing I'd like to know is Eddie an accountant?
Who is Eddie?
And secondly, there are software programs available that gives you every nickel that is budgeted and gives you every month what is in that account and what it was spent for and what the running balance is and how much is left in that budget for that particular area. I think,
Who voted for QuickBooks?
I have no idea.
It was 4.5, 5 years ago,
Yeah.
maybe more. Maybe more.
Is Eddie an accountant?
He's a computer guy, he has accountants in his firm. He is not an accountant. He's more of a computer, he knows how to manipulate programs. He created a program called ClerkBooks. And it's supposed to interface with QuickBooks, but what I've seen is it's a struggle, because if you put one number in wrong, it'll throw nines over about out of column and everything. So, yeah, he's not an accountant, but he has accountants that work with him.
Is the board potentially considering outside independent audit to establish exactly where everything is, where the accounts stand, where the budget is, the paper trail? There's always a paper trail where funds are concerned. I'm just wondering, is the board considering hiring, and I know that would cost, but considering what you're showing, it seems like they would be far cheaper than not having anything at all. Is the board considering an independent audit? Not someone that knows somebody that knows somebody. I'm talking completely separate from anything that has to do with this town or individuals within it.
Well, it's on the video, or I guess there wasn't a video from last time at the meeting, but it was there that Mr. Pites had suggested that we hire a CPA like that, somebody that's completely independent, to go through things and see where we're at, and that was not very well accepted.
No.
So is that person is supposedly, I thought there was somebody that every year does the audit, is that not an independent? Who is that that's doing the audit every year then?
State of Nebraska.
State of Nebraska.
The state of Nebraska. Never-
The state of Nebraska, so is
Craig-
that not
His
what?
name is Craig Jensen.
Okay, is that something different than what, I mean, is that not?
Right, he is doing our annual audit for the city of Crofton for the last, as long as I've been on the board.
So if there was problems, wouldn't he be catching? I mean, isn't that what that's for?
Okay,
Or-
so
I'm just wondering.
The,
Trying to
the
figure this
audit
out.
then shows the results of the actions. It's not a proactive kind of thing. The audit says, and here's the audit, this is one of them, right? And this is just, and I'm not, okay, I have looked through here, but these things are highlighted in color, you know, and it doesn't say everything that the city's doing good, but it specifically has detailed where you paid late fees to Citibank, and paid interest on late fees. And I know this is not a huge sum of money, but to me it's money. It's $107.06, right? And then if you go to the next year, we have those same things that occur again and again. And here and I didn't highlight this. This comes right from the audit, and this is highlighted. And those are the things. And there's other things that are highlighted as well. These are discrepancies that the auditor goes through and finds. And so I'm just showing you a document that says, you know, these are differences that we find and things that should have been and are. And I'm not saying everybody should be perfect or can be perfect, and there's a lot going on, but this audit is over 40 some pages long, and the hard part for me when I look at it is that the same things that happened 19, 18, 2019, 2021, 2020 have not been fixed. There's still the same things that repeat themselves over and over again. So, and here's a double payment to an entity And you can see in here, if you look, there's a place where it has listed of the 20-some items that were paid by the city before the council had approved them for payment. And so that's and you can do it yourself. I mean, I'll show you the thing. You went to, it's a state of Nebraska, and you pull up audit 2019, 2020, and it has the documentation there all in black and white. Read through, you can obviously see, you know, there's a lot of stuff there, and so they spend a tremendous amount of time going through that, and that's where they come up. And you're right, look, like $107, but you know, if it's a one-time thing, everybody does that. But there were 4 charges on there for credit cards that were late, and then interest that we paid in addition to that. And so I don't know.
Bob?
Yep.
Who was the clerk in 2019 and 20, those 2 years? We're in 21 and 22.
Yeah, we can bring those up too, but I just
So
brought
it's
that.
the clerk that has responsibility on this also.
Right, and it's never been, I don't think it's been stable enough for a whole year. The only one stable entity in the process is one person. The rest have been, like you said, the cycling, and I don't remember the official number if I go back and count them, for whatever reasons, or whatever the 7, and in the paper it just said they were flushed through the office, and it may have been a misstatement because I didn't want to make through the reference to something that could be flushed away, but they went away, and I can't speak for them, and I won't try to speak for them, but the documentation here speaks for itself clearly. You know, things that were, there's Charlie Jensen. But anyway, it speaks for itself clearly, and the things that are repeated over and again, that, you know, these things are concerned to the audit. This is not the way you're supposed to run your town, and in black and white, they're stated there, so it's just like, I just went to the black because it has a summary of things, and I like to get into the summary. There's $12,000 worth of difference and $40 worth of difference, and double payments again. And here are, you know, these checks were written 9/20 and 9 days before they were approved by the council. So you know, and going to all the meetings in the world would be fantastic for me. But this is where, when I have these documents in my hand, and I have these magical documents that I have here that are factual written things where I don't have to look at anything, and I kind of pride myself in being able to do a little math and figure things out. So if I have the documents in front of me, and I have the time and resources to look through them, I think I can come to a rational conclusion. And then if I have this black and white proof, I don't know what else I need. I don't need.
Excuse me, but have you read the budgets from about 5 years ago? Compare the amount of errors, slight errors or errors, listed that our city got against us at that time compared to this. None of these errors are good, but the comparison is shockingly amazing. So we're saying, I'm hearing you laying blame on the present staff, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that a little bit at least, of the guilt that happens because of these errors does land on you, because you did not go to the training, nor have you actually learned how to read the budgets, nor have you actually read it. I did. For years, I read the actual audits. Huge amounts of paper, pages. So I am encouraging you to communicate and work with the city what you have, rather than laying guilt and complaining.
All I know is what I see in the black and white that's here in front of me. I'm not.
To a degree, Bob.
But everything you're showing is from 2020.
Those are going to be some things you have to deal with as well.
Right.
Can I ask a question? How many times did you go in those how many years during the council meeting, go in the mayor's office and say, will you please show me what you're doing? And when I first come here, I'm new here, my first council meeting, I had one council member just sat there. And one thought he's a know-it-all, one's got a hot head, and when they're trying to talk to you, maybe she kind of hard to work with, and there's, like those saying, house divided cannot stand. If you guys cannot sit together, agree, and talk together, and there's one person saying, hey, can I come in the office, show me? I already heard her say, if you want to come in, I'll show you. How many times those council members gone in the last 3 or 4 years, how many years you've been doing, took the time out of your time, and sat on the computer and says, here's what needs to be done, here's this, here's this, here's this. I mean, half your guys' fault because you guys didn't go in there. If she said come on in and you guys didn't do it, it's your fault. It's like that's like my kids. If you're say you didn't do it, I told you come in the room here if you want to know how to do it. You act like kids up there. That's all I see in a council meeting. I'm sorry with being blunt. Act like little kids up there. You guys are. Now we're worried about this right now, acting like little kids. I'm sorry. That's all I'm going to say.
You know, and then there was multiple times.
But did you?
Did I? Yeah.
Did you go in there and ask her to show me?
Until I could not stand to be there anymore, yes.
Well, I don't care if you cannot stand. I'm married. Sometimes you cannot stand your wife sometimes. But sometimes you cannot stand the mirror. You have to work with them. Sometimes you work with the factory, you can't stand the guy next to you.
I'm gonna have to say, being the manager of the pool, there's times I had to go in there and try to talk to her, and that was nearly impossible.
Yeah, but still you
So
have
I
to
had to sidetrack and go to the board members.
Yeah.
So I even tried to go talk to her at times and say, here, we got a situation here, anything, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it don't always work. I'm sure the guys did try, but finally you're like, I can't do this mentally. You just can't do it anymore. It's not worth the fight.
But that's what
We tried.
that's what I see when I come in this council meeting every single time.
Everything's a
Every
fight.
single time, everything's a fight. You go to a meeting, 5 minutes after you walk out, they disagree.
That last council meeting a month ago, every time somebody tried to talk, she butted in. If it wouldn't have been for the lawyer shutting her up and saying, it's this man's turn to talk, it's this guy's turn to talk, it's that lady's turn to talk. She tried to cut him off every time.
But
You think that's not kidding?
But what I noticed what she's doing, she's an over-explainer.
All right, look. Let's get back to the reason the meeting is going on, right? I understand everybody's side, I'm sitting in the back. But if you think about it, you're starting to sound like your councilman. You're starting to sound like the same meeting you're talking about. That's not why you're here, okay? You're here to get some information and learn what's going on, okay? Now I'm going back to the back.
The 2022 audit is currently not in the process, and this is the latest ones that we have available. So I don't have any other newer data than this. And I will accept that wholeheartedly, is that I have to sign this audit. And you're right in the fact that, you know, there are things obviously in there that had yellow marks, and of course, you know, everybody's human, gonna make mistakes, but like I said, the thing that I have is the constant, this is what you need to do to make things better, this is what you need to do things better. And if you're gonna talk about your relationship to your wife when she asks you to do things to make better, not a bad idea, buddy. But anyway, so you wanna make things better, And when those constantly occur, and that's why I refer to this documentation, is that constantly over and over repetitive things. Go ahead.
Moving forward, Bob.
Yes, sir.
We know,
There's issues.
right, there's issues, we already
That's
know this,
okay.
okay? So we're looking at a new administration coming in, you know, the odds-on favorite for new mayor is you, okay? So moving forward, where are we going from here?
Have you guys are you implementing steps or measures in order to bring everything into?
Are we gonna have a full-time city clerk whose sole function is to do city clerking? You know, they're in charge of the money and the books and all that. I mean, are we gonna, you know what I'm saying? I understand we have a mess that has to be cleaned up, you know, and nothing short of an audit is really gonna fix that. And you're gonna have to wait, you know, until the new administration comes in. So it's like, you know, where are we at moving forward? We're not in the danger of being a bankrupt town, right?
Well, no, I would say not.
Okay.
Okay, my moving forward was this.
Okay, okay.
This is your chance
All
to
right.
share. Good, bad, or indifferent, I'm listening to everybody, you know, and.
Joe had a question first.
There's differences in audits. If you are thinking of a CPA to take every transaction in the last year that the city had, here's the bill, here's the check, here's the approval, so forth and so on, that is a CPA audit. And it's gonna cost through the nose, but it should be done. The public auditor will request from the city certain documents which they will audit. It is not every transaction that goes on in the city.
Yeah, John?
I've been listening and I understand everyone's frustration. I haven't been there for long, but I understand the processes that you're talking about. Well, here's some facts that I see. The council has already approved the budget, whether they knew that there were issues or not. But I've heard these questions asked several times tonight, what are we gonna do going forward? Because we can sit here and talk about the issues and the problems. If I'm gonna practice law, I need to go to law school. If I'm gonna practice medicine, I have to go to medical school. If I'm gonna cut hair, I need to go to a barbering school. If you're gonna be responsible, to have fiscal responsibility over people's money, over public money, you probably need to go to some kind of accounting school. I would say the people that come through the office, if there's always problems year after year, the council, and the mayor, and everyone else, or the city manager, whomever was there in the past, see it. Maybe it's time, as that gentleman just said, it will cost a little money, but one suggestion that I would make is to actually hire a CPA to work with whomever is in office, because obviously the clerks are not accountants, they're not CPAs. They may have some knowledge, but it might be a good idea to actually hire an accountant to help with the day-to-day, the week-to-week accounting for things that come in. Businesses do it. I mean, those of you who are in business, you know how important it is not to wait till the end of the year to turn your receipts. When I did tax law, if a person brought me a box of receipts at the end of the year, they paid thousands of dollars for that tax return. But if they had an accountant to keep up with it every week, and I got a summary, they paid a few $100s. So if you had an accountant to sit and work with whoever the clerk is, whoever your treasurer is, and they just gave that weekly accounting on QuickBooks, because QuickBooks makes it a lot easier, I believe, and so it shouldn't cost quite as much once they train them. A CPA can sit and work with them and show us how it's done, and a CPA can also audit the things that are done right now, as that gentleman was saying, to get things on track. Then when that annual audit comes, that auditor is looking for certain things, and you won't have all those errors up there like that. Because a CPA is not gonna put his or her license on the line for anybody to do anything that's really nefarious. They won't do it. So they will help to get things straightened out. And you know, that's a solution to a problem that's been going on, seems like from year after year after year. Just hire someone to sit. Because if you can't keep anyone in office, even with the current administration right now, one solution a long time ago would have got some help. I've seen myself what goes on in that office. That is a tough job for one person. It cannot be done. One person cannot, because if you're there trying to do books and checks, people are coming in, the phone is ringing, you got water bills that are due, people are calling, wondering why the water bills have been delivered or have been. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of responsibility for one person. It's almost impossible for one person to do that. But one person has been pretty much taking on that responsibility. There's gotta be other folks that will come in that office and help. That has to happen.
Yeah, and I'm not campaigning, but to be proactive would be huge. I mean, if we didn't have to deal with an audit like that because we had a CPA that came in once a month and made sure those things were adjusted and taken care of, that would be, yeah, fantastic. And I don't know, I can't tell you honestly that Bob Evans, if he gets to be the mayor, is gonna hire a CPA, because I I wanna do what's best for you. And I don't know, I don't have all the answers, but I know that we need some type of, a proactive, something so that we can keep track of this. And right, it's completely overwhelming for one person. And I will speak to and say, you know, and when Mike was here, Mike Stevens was here, it's that, you know, I said that I've never seen a person spend as much time in the office in any capacity as our current mayor does. Just flat out hasn't happened. But the bottom line is I look at black and white documents that I have, that it's not working. And so it's not getting better. And we need to get better. So if there are any other things, ideas, anything you'd like to see, I mean, the CPA thing is like Mr. Pike suggested, that we have that happen, and it didn't go over very well. But yeah, and it says on there overly, if you read it, you know, there's like lots of pages over and over again. It needs to be multiple sets of eyes on every document. It's repeated in there. It's a resounding thing in there. More than one person needs to see every document. More than one person, over and over and over again.
Well, I mean, moving forward, you obviously, I mean, you have a game plan. You see that documents need to be looked at. There needs to be more than one set of eyes. So we just really have to, you know, concentrate on, trust the process, concentrate on moving forward. You know, throwing darts at people just doesn't help. The situation's not gonna change. It is what it is, you know?
And then that's just why I have the documents there to say that,
Right,
you know,
right.
potentially we're gonna be, and I don't have proof otherwise.
Right.
I have this, the documents I have in front of me. I wish that I had proof otherwise that I could show you that we had $10 million in the bank and
Right.
everybody got a tax break, but that's not what I have. That's what,
Right.
I showed you what I have. With the most recent document that I have, and I just checked my email before we came in here, this is what we have to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And so as councilmen, that's what we have to work with. The documents you saw is what we have to work with.
What would have happened if you didn't approve the budget? Just out of curiosity.
Well, if we didn't approve the levy, which was the first thing,
Uh-huh.
we would have lost all of our tax aid locally from the county. That
Okay.
was the documentation that we received from, when we were gonna lose our county tax money. That $193,000 there would have went away, would have gone, we wouldn't have that. And then the state said they don't recommend us doing that, because state money would still be available, but we'd lose that money
Right.
in the county.
So you feel like you were put over a barrel, that, you know, it's kind of from what I'm hearing, from what I'm understanding, you know, you received documents at the last minute, you know, notwithstanding we can't go in the office and all, we know why, you know? That's what I'm saying, we're coming to the end of this, you know, it's a painful process, but there's gotta be a light at the end of the tunnel. You know, like I said, as long as we know we're not broke, you know, we have some semblance of, we have an idea what's there. We'd like to know everything, because you know as well as I do, being on Economic Development Committee, there's supposed to be set monies from tax revenue in this account, that the number never changes, and it hasn't changed in a long time, and it's like, how could that be? Right? That's questions we've had. So we're just gonna have to wait to get those answers.
Out of curiosity, how often do you receive the budget report? Every month? Financial statement every month, or what?
We used to give them a week before, some documentation of the budgets and expenditures, a week before. I'm guessing that the last 3 or 4 weeks when we walked in the door is when we got that information.
But you generally have that information regardless, the previous months. So you should know where some of these expenses lie and fall on these reports.
We see them on the day we get to the meeting.
But you still have the previous months to go back and look at also, right?
Yeah, and there's a, what do they call it, profit and loss statement kind of a thing where you can go through and look at that.
Yep. Okay.
But, you know, without prior knowledge, it's hard to walk into a meeting and approve thousands and thousands of dollars of expenditure when you had the time when you walked in the door till the bills are paid to look at that. And I'm not the most techno-savvy guy in the world, but I know that everybody in this room, if I have an email, in a minute get you the information you need to have, right? It's-
Can I make a suggestion to the public here? I think, and I've been a councilman for 4 years, and before that, I was raising a family just like everybody else. But as I got into this, I think this room should be 40, 50 at a council meeting, start asking questions just like you're doing now. Be more aware of what's going on. You guys be more educated. There's no second guessing, there's no hearsay, that one said, this one said. I think the public needs to show up at because we've been to a lot of meetings, and Bob and Don and I, and there's only maybe a couple, 3, maybe 5 people here, and that's it. And that's not our town. Our town should have this thing, not full, but everybody says, oh, they're doing all right, just let them go. And that's not the answer. You guys gotta be involved. It's your tax dollars.
Larry, excuse me. Attending a council meeting
I know.
is the biggest waste of time
Well,
I've ever done. There's no sense sitting here listening to 5 people argue about who's right.
I understand that.
And until that changes, you're not gonna have anybody here.
I read that.
You need a table with 6 people up there, or 5 people, whoever, whatever the number is, each with a microphone. Each person has the right to talk. We don't need one person holding court.
I understand
Until that gets done, you're not gonna have anybody here.
that. I respect the thoughts, and you were on that. You've been here a number of times and got that. And that was not right, not fair to anybody that pays taxes in this town. They have just as much right to say something, and you're right, the council needs to quit bickering, but a lot of stuff that, you guys, say if Todd here tells me he wants this on, kind of look into, so we put it in, we never see it on the agenda. We never see it on the agenda, and we put it in. A lot of us sometimes don't make it in time. A lot of stuff gets there in time. We get the agenda out. We don't know where it went to. We have no, so, you know, unless you want us to, you said go to the office and educate, it's just gonna be a battle at this point. Yes?
I truly haven't worked here a couple of years. Number one, when we vote for you guys, we have the expectation that you are going to do your best for our city. And run it like in. You are not educated in it. You are not professionals. You have to dig up all the stuff, and for $100 a month, you all have full-time jobs besides. You know, but it's a matter of working together, I know. As far as the finances, your clerk needs to be an accountant, not Tom, Dick, and Harry. I mean, I done it for 2 years, and I'm telling you, if you want a bottom line of how much money's in those accounts, then that's what you need is an accountant. She does not have to listen to the mayor argue with anybody. She doesn't have to listen to you people arguing between each other. She just does the money. Period. And you guys all you can do is what you can do. With your education, we just depend on you to look into situations and make the best you can. You're not professionals, and we don't expect that. You don't need my opinion. I'm not gonna like what you do, but too bad. I voted for you. You know, I voted for you because I knew you'd do the best you could. You don't need to take everybody's opinion. You know, those 6 people in town feel one way, these 6 feel another way. All that matters is you 6 people up there at that table.
I can remember when I was running a baseball program here for the younger kids, and I'd have to go to the town board meeting. Everybody got to talk and everybody listened. Everybody had a chance to say their piece. They discussed it, and discussed it right in front of them. You know, sometimes it came out good, and sometimes it didn't.
Larry, do you have that much time in an evening? If you let everybody speak their piece, you're gonna be here for hours.
Well, I know, but lately we haven't had too many people show up, that's the problem. But,
It's just
I mean,
decisions
maybe,
you guys
maybe
need
it's
to
a center
make.
that we need to, you know, there's a, on, everything's computerized now, I'm not a genius. Fill it in, get it to us maybe a week before, and maybe have some time to look at something. I mean, that's an option, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. We're giving you guys the time to spill your guts, listen to what you got to say, come up with solutions.
We just have to do the best you can. You cannot dedicate your full day to
Well-
running the city. I mean, you all have incomes to make.
Well, yes, but that's why we kinda took the oath to kinda help the town out. So, yes.
If I could say something about the period of time that you have in order to prepare your audit, you will experience the difficulty as well. You have from the end of August or September to finish off.
And if you don't sign it, you will lose, like they said. But you've got to keep in mind that a budget is a projection and can be changed. The important thing is to actually sign the papers, get them money, and then fix it. Rather than boycotting, I'd like to read a few things that I've been thinking about. And one of them, it comes from Bob's editorial. So I just kind of picked it apart, just a little bit. This is my thinking and I might be wrong, but just hear me out, okay? First of all, the public was not locked out of the city office as stated in the letter to the editor of the Crofton Journal, 10/6/22. The sign asked people to knock loud if there was a need so that staff could work on the budget. I think that's only fair. Nobody was locked out. You could knock. I don't know of anybody who can't knock. The information at the city office contains personal information. Note the advice given to the city's former lawyer, Mr. McNally, in a letter previously sent to city council members. Private information includes employee data, water bill accounts, financial aid benefits, and many more personal things. That doesn't mean you can't hear things or learn things. You just simply can't have your eyes on people's personal accounts. Unlawful access to private information could open the board to legal difficulties. The article in the paper was misquoted to sound like the mayor had personal information on the computer. Some on the present council have chosen to boycott at least 2 council meetings, resulting in a lack of quorum. The council members also refused to attend 2 budget information meetings. Now, by refusing to do the research and learn about the issues, including the budget, they may often be in error and make unwise decisions. Examples of this would include the threat to boycott the signing of the budget, which would result in the loss of state and county tax levy revenues, monies from personal properties, and for this year, one of the taxes will give us, if we get it signed, $193,000. Plus a little. If the budget is filed late, the city will not be paid for this year. Number 4, there appears to be a serious lack of knowledge concerning the Crofton City challenges and problems. By refusing to communicate and work with the mayor and other city staff, council members have created or deepened problems. It is imperative that council members communicate and work together with the city officials. They should attend training for their positions to effectively serve. It seems to appear that some on our city council are trying to usurp duties not within the scope of their authority. See Crofton city ordinances and resolutions, as well as state and county legalities. There's a few examples in here, but I will not read those in public. Perhaps a more serious issue is that the council members come to council meetings having pre-decided how they will vote. Evidence of this can be clearly seen on board minute recordings. See December and January City Council meetings 2020. Serious issues are facing Crofton's sewer and water lines. These problems were identified nearly 9 years ago. By not deciding on these issues, the council has caused serious delays that will soon result in hefty fines. By the use of obstruction, attitudes, and unwillingness to learn and decide on solutions, the problems have only worsened. Accusations against city officials are being made and spread around Crofton. It appears that these are unfounded and may stem from personal conflicts, misunderstanding, and political ambitions. The letter sent to the Crofton Journal is filled with such allegations, as well as what appears to be slanted half-truths. A serious review of the financial state of Crofton, which has shown a hefty $1 million cash account, would allay many concerns. Unfounded allegations could result in unwanted lawsuits. Transparency can easily be obtained by open communication. The city office is open for city council members to stop in for information. Please note that the state auditor approved financial statements have been presented to the council members at every regular council meeting in the council meeting packets. And the mayor did say that for recently, she hasn't gotten it to you a week ahead, which should have been happening. The city council members cannot be excused for the inability to understand the budget. And we have heard, if you were at the meetings, you heard at least one of our city council members say, how do I read this? When he was looking at the budget. You need to learn how to read a budget.
Thank you for your time you invested and your thought and logic on that process. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the cause that you have or like to share?
I was just told by my parents that the respect that you want, you have to give other people. If you're not gonna listen to the mayor's not gonna listen to you. But that's what I think you guys, the whole 6 of you, are lacking, is respect. And if I think if we receive respect, we'll probably get along and have a good city again.
Well, we have an election coming up, so we have we're moving forward. So we'll be coming out of the doldrums here. I believe in thinking positive. There's money there. We just know what we need to do to correct things. That's all. And put a lid on a revolving door. And, we know what needs to be done. And the other thing is being able to talk to each other and check each other. If you said you're going to do something and it's not being done, well, yeah, you have a right to ask me. Same thing. I have a right to ask you.
It started when I was on the school board, of course, that there came that point in time where there's transparency was a huge issue, and they printed the superintendent's contract on the website. It has to be there for transparency. I'm a believer in transparency, and that's why,
But I agree. I agree with some of what the young lady was saying, that it is important that if you're going to be involved with city affairs, you've got to educate yourself, leave your personal opinion out of it, educate yourselves on what it is that you are doing in the city government. You have to. That's the only way that it's going to work, even though we don't want to. We go through 100 pages of something and it's tiring, it's exhausting. But that being said, it is for the best interest of the community. Right. Education is a must, not personal feelings, or I think, or we feel, or we thought. It is black and white. It's what's on the paper. It's educating yourselves in order to create an experienced, informed decisions where the community is concerned.
John?
Yep, well, I go back to what I said, you hire so long, I think you just need to hire a professional to help to fix it. And I think that will calm a lot of fears and concerns, because that's what it seems to be the main theme is where is the money? Then hire an accounting professional to answer that. And that's not the state audit. That's not their job. They only make recommendations, they don't fix anything.
If nothing else, I personally want to thank every one of you, each and every one of you for coming. Obviously, you know, we don't have to agree on things, but hopefully I represented respect for you, that I'm gonna listen, you're gonna be heard. You know, do you agree or disagree? Nothing fell on a deaf ear, and that's what I'm here for, is to learn and grow. And I know listening is learning, and I wanted to listen and heard some things that were, you know, I can see where ideas are and opinions are. Like I said, we don't have to agree. If we disagree, I'm still a believer that everybody in this room has an opportunity and has tremendous potential to help us grow as a community. And so I thank each and every one of you for your time and effort, for listening, and for voicing your opinion. It was heard.